anytime we get more aligned on our own path, we literally gather more soul power to us. It's like we have access to more of our soul, and that's the kind of power that changes the world and changes the fabric of reality. Hello and welcome back to Remember Why You're Here, a podcast for seekers and sensitives where you can relax, receive, reconnect to yourself, and remember the most important thing of all, why you're here. I'm Asia Suler, author, earth intuitive, teacher, and in this episode today, we're going to tune into the energies ahead for the month of July 2026. So I've been hearing about this month from my astrologer friends for a long time. So I was so curious to see what would come up when I dropped into the themes ahead for this month. So some themes coming up this month are micro shifts to realign with your path, finding the fruit where you are, the bifurcation of timelines, connecting to the guardians of your soul, and homecoming. So for this month, decided to pick a card from one of my OG tarot decks. It's the Herbal Tarot by Michael Tierra. This was, I think, one of the first herbal-based oracle decks that were made. So I was excited to reconnect with this deck. I probably have had this deck now for almost 20 years. And the card that I picked for this month from that deck was Justice or Plantain. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what this card traditionally means. I want to talk about plantain as a medicine, and then I'm going to go into my reading for this month and how they all weave together. So what does this deck say? The booklet for this deck is very small, and the description's small too. It talks about making adjustments in order to feel more at ease with the various conditions and situations of your life. And it also mentions the possibility for these adjustments to be relaxed. I really liked that he had that in there. Well, let's talk first with that in mind about plantain medicine in particular, because in this deck, while it is grounded in the traditional Waite Rider Tarot, the plants themselves are really figuring as the centerpiece and the message holder for the deck. So let's talk about plantain medicine. So plantain medicine is different than the fruit plantain that many people are familiar with. Plantain medicine is a small, perennial green plant that can be found everywhere in the temperate world. So plantain is one of the first medicines that a lot of kids learn, especially around here. People call plantain nature's Band-Aid. So the way people use plantain is they find this weed growing around them, you chew it up, and you put it right onto whatever your boo-boo is. So it's normally a leafy green that's either oval-shaped or lance-shaped, and you know it's plantain because, first of all, you get to know it and you figure out it's everywhere. But if you pull plantain apart, you should see on the ribs that there's a little white string that sort of holds on as you hold and you pull that leaf apart. So once you start seeing plantain, you're going to realize, if you are living in the temperate world, that it is likely everywhere. I mean, I'm talking fields, I'm talking meadows, I'm talking school parking lots. This is just one of those plants where it's so ubiquitous that no matter where you are, if you get a boo-boo, at least where I live, you can look around and probably find some plantain. So plantain is anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, it's cooling and vulnerary. Vulnerary means that it's skin healing. It's astringent, and so it can help pull things out. I'll use it for things like splinters. You can use it on stuff like stings, bug bites, little boo-boos, cuts, irritations. People also use plantain for respiratory support, for irritated lungs with things like allergies and asthma. And plantain is also known for its gastrointestinal support. So if you've ever heard of psyllium, that fiber that people eat either powdered or in seed form, psyllium comes from plantain. So it's the seeds that come from the flower stalk of plantain. And this insoluble fiber is really good for our gut, feeding our gut flora, helping people be regular. So you might already have some contact points with plantain in your life, but I like to give a profile of plantain to just really understand that it is this like sturdy, ubiquitous medicine. It's just one of these things that's everywhere and it's so accessible. Like the other day, my daughter fell down on the driveway and immediately, she pops up in her 4-year-old brain and goes, let me find some plantain. So this is the kind of medicine that we're talking about moving into this month. Now, how does this dovetail with justice? Let's talk about the justice card traditionally. So this card is one of those cards. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be totally honest with you. When I get a justice card in my reading, I'm often like, okay, that's like kind of my energy often when I get the justice card. I'm like, what does this mean? That's kind of my vibe sometimes around the justice card. I'm like, okay, if I'm not like actively seeking justice around something or fairness around something, if I'm not in like a legal battle, like why are you showing up for me? And so this reading was cool for me because I got to learn more about justice, the card, and the different interpretations of this card. So really, if you look at the justice card, in most depictions of this card, you see these two scales. And so the justice card, it's really about balance. It's less about the judicial system and more about the balance in your life and the ability to see both sides. So traditionally, this card represents truth. This truth, this idea that truth and fairness prevail, that you reap what you sow, kind of like the karmic balance or the karmic scale of existence. And some people talk about with this card, which I love, this idea that this balance, this rebalancing is really about coming back into alignment with our higher selves. It's about, that integrity of realizing who we are and what matters to us and being in integrity with our own soul, like keeping our dignity intact and being able to cut through the confusion in our life to see what do we need to feel balanced? What do we need to be in this sort of reciprocal flow with life? Now, I was super curious to see what Lindsay Mack said about the Justice card. We had Lindsay on our podcast about a month and a half ago now, and then we used the new deck that Lindsay just put out in the world with their new guidebook for our reading in June. So I was curious to look at that guidebook and see what Lindsay had said about justice because I love everything that they write about the tarot cards. And so Lindsay talks about this idea of justice being like a waiting room, like a liminal season, a liminal place where we're really being asked to be with what is, rather than what we feel should be or what we feel shouldn't be. It's almost like finding balance in the moment with what is. And the more we're available and we're able to be with what's here, the more that we are available to then reach for the necessary changes and the time that we need to heal in our life and ultimately find justice. So I really appreciated weaving that into this reading for the month ahead. So we've tuned in now to plantain as a plant, as an energy. We've turned into the justice card. Let's turn our awareness now to my reading, what came in for me through my channel in connection with this card and the energies that I am picking up for this month ahead for July 2026. So I'm going to mention again that a lot of my astrologer friends have been talking about this month for a long time. I started talking about this month back in April, maybe. I started noticing that there was some energy in April that was really connecting us to July somehow. So I've been really curious to tune into, okay, what actually is happening this month? And I was a bit surprised by what came in. So the first thing that came in my reading for this month is the concept of micro shifts to help you realign with your path. In my mind's eye, I literally saw almost like these little turns, like almost how you would twist a twisty tie or something, or like a piece of cloth tied and turned, but these little unforeseen turns this month. And that these unforeseen turns are like little micro adjustments, little micro shifts to help you reorient to your path. And not that you've been off your path, but that your path is actually evolving right now so rapidly that this month there's going to be these opportunities for you to make these micro shifts, these adjustments to get on your path in a way where it's almost like the rest of this year is going to be like a runway. That's the visual I got. It's like a runway in the rest of this year for your projects, your creativity, the things that you've been putting energy into. And so July feels like these micro shifts, these micro adjustments so that you're all lined up. It's like how a plane, kind of needs to move slowly and taxi slowly and get into position so that you're ready to like take off down the runway. And that's how this month of July feels to me. And I specifically loved talking about them as micro adjustments because it felt a little bit like receiving a chiropractic adjustment. It's like you don't actually have to make these adjustments. They're just going to happen to you. So just receive them when they come. It's like this is helping you to be open to what is here. And so in particular, if something this month or a series of things this month don't go quite exactly as planned, if there are shifts that have to be made, if there are ways in which your routine or your rhythm is getting shifted around, know that this is part of the micro adjustment and just let it be. Just let it be. We have the plans in our head, but there's going to be these little points of micro adjustments throughout this month. Let it happen. Like how you're in a chiropractor's office and you're supposed to let your body relax for the adjustment to happen. It's like when those shifts or those unforeseen little changes happen in your life, relax into them in any way that you can and let the adjustment happen. And I think here about plantain in particular and how it's almost like in that tarot deck, I could not have picked a more common plant than plantain. Like plantain of any plant in that deck is like probably the most common widespread plant you could ever pick. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And so there's this sense with these changes that this is not about overhauling your life. It's about being with the everyday. It's about recognizing that these opportunities for realignment, for healing, for soothing, for, our little wounds, like just the little scrapes that we get from day-to-day life, that is everywhere. And so there's this sense of like being in the day-to-day, courting the day-to-day kind of rhythms, seeing every day as an opportunity to just shift ever more slightly onto your path. And with the Justice card too, we have this sense of, making distinctions and being precise, like the precision of a little adjustment here to find more balance in our life. And what I loved about what was coming in with this is that we're not striving for this. It's just happening to us, but we do need the reframe so that when the unforeseen things happen in our life this month, little tweaks, that we know exactly what's going on, that we are getting this adjustment. So the next theme that came up for me was finding fruit in the thick of it. In particular, that song, you've probably heard it because I'm pretty sure it's been viral in different videos online, but it's from a kids program called Backyardigans. And it's called Into the Thick of It, or at least that's what repeats over and over again. And so it goes into the thick of it, into the thick of it. You've probably heard it, okay? If not, you get the gist. But so that song came into my head when I was doing my channeling work for this month ahead. And it's this sense of like, we're not at the beginning of something. We're not at the end of something, just like literally we are in this year right now. We're in the midst of something right now. You're in the midst of a process, a creative project, a house renovation. Wherever you are, your goal is to let yourself be there. Because what I was seeing is it's like being in the middle of a bramble thicket. And right now our berries are popping off outside of our house, but you're in the middle of a bramble thicket. And instead of thinking to yourself, like, I'm stuck here, think to yourself, I'm stuck here and I'm eating berries. Or instead of thinking to yourself, I'm stuck here, think to yourself, I'm here and I get to eat the berries. Find the fruit in the thick of it, wherever you are in the midst of your project, in the midst of your evolution, in the midst of some growth pattern that you're in. I literally think about, the journey in any arc of our life, whether it is a creative project, whether it's our soul's growth, a pattern that we're working through, we start out at a certain place with a certain perspective, and then we go down into the thick of it. It's like beginning the journey at a high point, a viewpoint, and then you go into the thick of it. And when you're in the thick of it, you can't necessarily see how you will be exiting the brambles. Your goal is just to be there, to find little moments of luxury and savoring when you can. There's a science behind savoring, that when we stop and we actually allow ourselves to sensorially enjoy whatever is there, it actually expands our capacity to see more things that bring us pleasure, to connect to a greater capacity for enjoying where we're at. So finding the fruit that you can in the thick of it, and having this reflection too that yes, you are in the thick of it and you are not stuck. You're just in the middle of whatever this longer arc is, whatever this process, this creative project, this idea, this movement within your life. And to bring a little levity into it too, like, you could put that song on. I'm going to warn you right now, it is an earworm, but you could find it and play it online. Into the thick of it, but just remind yourself that this is how we actually get through something. This is how we actually go into the process and come out transformed on the other side, is we allow ourselves to be in the thick of it. So go ahead and find some fruit in the thick of it. Like fill your baskets, fill your mouth and your belly first, and then fill your baskets and enjoy the fruit that is here, right? Because there will be always along the way in any journey moments where we're given some nourishment. We're given like a taste of sweetness. So when those come up this month, you really allow yourself to enjoy them. All right, our next theme is bifurcation of timelines. So this one felt in particular really speaking to me in terms of all the voices of my astrologer friends talking about just how huge the astrology for this month is. And then comparing that to what I'm actually picking up on about this month for us personally. So let's dive into it. So it's this sense that there are diverging like timelines and trajectories in this world. And so I think it's possible that we might have some big things happen on the world stage this month, but there's this sense that big things on the world stage doesn't necessarily or won't necessarily translate to big things happening in our individual lives. So stay with me here. The sense that I get is that there's this like timeline divergence going on. And we see this all the time in our own lives. Every time we commit ourselves to healing, we commit ourselves to the process of self-awareness and self-growth and evolution, to being with ourselves and the growth that our soul came here to undertake. Every time we recommit to that and step further on the path, we develop a new timeline for our lives, new possibilities open for our lives, new potentials. And so anytime we are committed to our own evolution, we open up greater potential and timelines for our own lives. Now, on the other hand, every time we refuse growth or evolution, right, those timelines don't shift, or those timelines are not available in the same way, right? We're not shifting what's possible for ourselves. And so in this way of thinking, there's this sense that came in for me that the people in power, the people who hold governmental and corporate power in our world, they are not evolving as fast as the people in this collective who I'm talking to right now. Like you who are listening to this, the people in the collective, like those in this community, those who I serve, like y'all are committed to this path of self-growth, self-awareness, evolution. And so it's like the two speeds are changing on the timeline. It's like what's possible for us in terms of, growth and evolution is going to be different than what would be possible for someone who's actively sticking their head in the sand and not wanting to evolve, not wanting to grow, not wanting to see their own patterns, and not wanting to heal. And so it feels like, even though obviously everything that happens in the wider world on a governmental stage does affect our lives, what I'm feeling is this sense that, the more we're choosing to be in our work, the more we are in our evolution, our service, our creativity, our giveaway, the more spirit insulation we will experience from the chaos that's going to need to continue to happen for those who are holding a lot of the world's power and are refusing to actually be in this process of growth and evolution and self-awareness. And so it's interesting too, because in the justice card, we have like these two sides, right? The balancing of these two sides. And the justice card in particular will show us the cracks sometimes between where we are and where we want to be, but it will also show us, those of us who are operating in one way versus those of us who are not, and seeing that difference with compassion. So this is not about us versus them. This is not about like who's the most evolved and who's the least evolved. It's really just about noticing what is true for you, seeing how karma works and how karma is actually a force that is helping us to evolve and grow, and like cutting through the confusion to truth. And so the more we are committed to our paths, to letting those realignments happen, the more we're going to move down these timelines, change the timelines of what's possible for us individually. And I think personally that that's how evolution ends up happening on a global scale, is that we all are committed to our own individual processes, to greater levels of self-awareness. And it's really through that we have the groundwork to then be in relationships where there's the ability to, be in conversation, where there's the ability to evolve together. And those relationships start linking up and spreading outward into the world at large. And so there really is this importance actually in like letting yourself be on your timeline. That, and this was part of this theme that came in, is around homecoming, and it really, like, I thought it was so interesting. All of June, I kept hearing that July was going to have this homecoming energy. And I'm like, okay, but some of my astrologer friends are like big, 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 major, major world astrology, like, huge things shifting. And I'm getting like this sense of like micro adjustments, realignment, homecoming. And it made sense more when I dropped into this reading, because there's this sense of homecoming is embracing your trajectory, embracing your timeline, where your energy needs to go, the process of evolution that you are on right now, the process of expression, the process of coming into your own fullness and your own being, and knowing that like your trajectory is yours alone, right? Like that your trajectory is a trajectory that your soul is laying out before you in this lifetime, and that you being willing to be on your trajectory, on your timeline, in the thick of your process, finding fruit in the midst of that process, and allowing life to make these micro adjustments to help you fly down the path ahead of you, that all of these things are medicine for this world, that this is the medicine of how the shifts that we need to see happen occur on this planet. Anytime we get more aligned on our own path, we literally gather more energy and power, more soul power to us. It's like we have access to more of our soul, and that's the kind of power that changes the world and changes the fabric of reality. So we are not doing this alone. And this was something that came in very strongly for me, especially with the help of Plantain. But there's this sense of the ability to connect with the guardians of your soul this month. That we're not just like placed here in this little individualist vacuum on this planet. We come here to be on these autonomous paths, these paths of really committing to our own selves and our own unfolding in concert with this wider web of relationships, this wider collective, this animist earth that does want to support us in our unfolding, just as we truly and earnestly want to support the unfolding of the world around us, just as you truly and earnestly, want to see the flowers in your garden bloom. So there's a sense this month of being able to connect to the guardians of your soul. And I use that term because it's this sense of like, when we forget, who we are and what we're here to do, there are beings always surrounding us who have never forgotten and who will always remind us. So be open to the ways in which the guardians of your soul want to come be with you this month. So this might be a plant, this might be an animal, this might be a stone, this might be an ally in the non-physical world like a spirit guide or an angel. But the message that came through for me with this is to remind you that they're everywhere. Like plantain is everywhere. We think we have to strive or really reach or somehow prove ourselves, but these guardians of the soul are all around us. They are here supporting us. They are here helping us. And it's really just about sometimes us picking ourselves up and just looking around to find them. And this is why in particular, I've really been getting this strong message that dreams are going to be really important this month. I've already started to notice, normally before these readings happen, I start to experience aspects of them before the month hits. And I think it's helping me to orient somewhat to what's ahead. But I've started having bigger dreams than I've had in a long time. And some of this is just the realities of parenting, lack of sleep, fragmented sleep, just exhaustion, all of that. But some of it was, I think, just the time of life that I was in and the time of life we've been in as a collective. But there's this sense this month of dreams really coming in to guide you. And this is why I love dreams, because they are tethers directly into the soul realm. When we go to sleep at night, we're not just having these random firings in our brain. We are leaving our body. We're having experiences in non-ordinary reality, and we are bringing back perfectly packaged stories and metaphors that help us further step onto our soul's path. Every single night, you are receiving guidance from your dreams, and I just have this sense like if we just allow ourselves to attune to our dreams this month, that we will have a series of dreams, a couple dreams, some dreams coming in that are here to really give us a piece of the puzzle, to really guide us on this process of aligning, realigning to the deeper path, even a deeper path than we even saw before, that is rolling out ahead of us. And that deep path is needed on this planet. That's why you're deepening. That's why your creativity, your service, your giveaway, all of these things are deepening, because you are needed on this planet in your fullness and in your authentic self. So if you are someone who really wants to connect deeper with your dreams, wants to remember your dreams, turn up the volume on your ability to have that dream recall, to then work with your dreams in the morning, I am creating a free little mini course, a free mini class called the Dream Remembrance Recipe. It's going to be over on my Substack next week. And this little class will be for paid subscribers. So if you're interested, you can sign up for $5 a month. It's really inexpensive. You can get access to all my paid posts there. And I'm creating there a class that is specifically guided for this month and this time ahead, to help you, to give you this recipe so that you can remember your dreams. If you're someone who struggles to remember your dreams, this recipe is incredibly helpful for remembering your dreams and how to work with them to really understand what the message is. And I want you to have this information because I feel like there's this big potential for this soul delivery this month of these dreams to come through. So if you're interested in that, head over to my Substack. It's called Remember Why You're Here. It is a beautiful companion to this podcast, and there's been such incredible conversations happening over on that Substack about these episodes and about the deepening of our paths, about remembering why we are here. So I would love to connect with you there. You can just search Remember Why You're Here on Substack or asuler.substack.com. So I really have a good feeling about this month ahead, and I did not know if I would feel that way coming up here, but I really feel like there's a solidity and a landing happening for us this month. And then I'm excited to see what kind of flight we take, what kind of runway we're just able to really fly down in the rest of this year. I'm excited for you and the creative projects you've been putting your energy into. I know in June, that was such a big theme of this sort of creative liberation and creative flourishing. And that's really freeing you up now. And now it's like we're clicking into place. And we're deepening and aligning with that energy, that channel that is moving through us and that we will be moved just by interacting with. So I'm sending you so many blessings for this month ahead. If you end up having experiences with some of these themes, I would love to hear about it over on the Substack, or you could leave me a voice note at asiasuler.com/remember. So until we gather again, may this month be full of fruit. May it be full of the adjustments that actually help you relax into what is here, to realize the timeline of potential that is unfurling for you right now, to help you come home, to help you feel the fullness of your own being, and to help you remember that most important thing of all, why you're here.